Hello, welcome to Pauper Guru with your host, Matthew Stoner. Today I'm going to be discussing another deck tech. The irony, everyone out here knows about the COVID-19, all that, right? Well, for lack of a better term, that's kind of what this deck does, and the same basic principle to a battlefield. Slowly infects and kills off by the multitude. But this deck does not actually contain infect in this deck. It is based on killing creatures, enchanting my stuff, and pinging my opponents to death. The commander of this deck is Plague Spitter. He is a 2/2 for 1 black, 2 of anything. At the beginning of my upkeep, Plague Stinger deals 1 damage to each other creature and each player. If Plague Stinger will be put into the graveyard from anywhere, I deal 1 damage to each creature on the battlefield. That is the commander of this deck. The way to make this commander really dangerous, and your goal of this deck, is you want to give it one of these 4 enchantments, and this commander just becomes ridiculous. Phyrexi's enchanted creature has infect. That puts every person on a counter, on a clock. Aspect of Gorgon gives it enchanted creature death touch, so every turn I'm nuking everyone's creatures except for Plague Stinger. Aspect of Lampus, enchanted creature has lifelink, and Vampiric Link, enchanted creature has lifelink. So I deal 1 damage to every creature, and then I gain that much life, and each player. So that being said, I can stand there with any one of them on my own Plague Spitter. I can just sit there and have a lot of fun with it. Now, there are other enchantments in the deck which I will talk about. There is also Strange Emergency. Enchanted creature gets +1/+1, and if you have Delirium triggered, it gets +2/+2, making the commander become a 4/4 very easily in this deck. Ill-Gotten Inheritance. It's a 4-drop enchantment. Beginning of my upkeep, each opponent loses 1 life and I gain 1 life. Trespasser's Curse. Enchant player. Whenever enchanted player plays a creature, that player loses 1 life and I gain 1 life. Soul Bleed. Enchant creature. At the beginning of enchanted player's upkeep, that player loses 1 life. Fear. Enchanted creature cannot be blocked except by artifact creatures and black creatures. And Dragon Shadow. It's a repeatable enchantment. Enchanted creature gets +1/+0 and Fear. Whenever a creature with power converted mana cost 6 or greater comes into play, after a while the converted mana cost the commander continues to go up with commander attacks, because people do want this dead. After a while, this does in fact enchant the commander immediately. Now we're going on to the ramp of this deck. Dark Ritual. For 1 black mana on instant speed, add 3 black mana to your mana pool. Twisted Abomination. Serves 2 purposes in the deck. It's a 5/3 big creature with 1 black to regenerate, or pay 2 and swamp cycle it to search your deck for a swamp if you need mana. Leaden Mirror. Taps for 1 black mana. Prismatic Talisman taps for 1 colorless mana and gives you 1 life. Hedron Crawler taps for 1 colorless mana for 2. And Charcoal Diamond comes into play but it taps for black mana. That is the mana ramp of this deck. Now on to the removal of this deck. Faceless Butcher is 2 black and 2 of anything for a 2/3 that enters the battlefield. Now exile a creature my opponent controls, and it doesn't come back until this creature dies. It's kind of like a black Oblivion Ring. I didn't even know something like that even existed until I started working on this deck. Mesolic Vapors. All creatures get -1/-1, and you surveil for 3 mana. Deadweight. Enchanted creature gets -2/-2 for 1 black mana. Gruesome Demise. Exile target creature with power 3 or less. Cruel Finale. Target creature gets -2/-2 until end of turn. And then Scribe 1. Complete Disregard. Exile target creature with power 3 or less. In this meta, a lot of the creatures have a power of 3 or less in our meta, so those really do help. Grasp of Darkness, target for 2 black mana, target creature gets -4/-4. Last Gasp, 2 mana, target creature gets -3/-3 until end of turn. And the biggest removal in the deck, Omnixilis Cruelty, target creature gets -5/-5, and if it dies, it becomes exiled. So, that is the removal of this deck. Now on to the card draw and scrying of the deck. Mental Agony. Target player loses 2 life and draws 2 cards for 4 mana. Dust Legion Zealot. 2 mana comes into play, leaves you a 1/1. You lose 1 life and draw a card. Sometimes some of the creatures in the deck you don't mind actually letting some of them go to the graveyard. Succumb to Temptation. 3 mana, lose 2 life, draw 2 cards. Phyrexian Rager. Enter battlefield, you lose 2 life. You lose 1 life, you draw a card. Cyan Blood, target player loses 2 life and draws 2 cards. Sometimes you can let players on a opponent if they need to draw cards to help deal with a situation. And Lost Legionnaire is a 2/3 that when enter battlefield, scry 2. Now, on to the pingers of this deck. And there are different ways to ping damage with this deck. Changeling Outcast and Tormented Soul is the same creature. It's a 1/1 unblockable that cannot block. Smoldering Incarnate. Whenever a player plays a black spell, that includes your opponents. If they're playing black, you may pay 1. If you do so, target player loses 1 life. And all 3 of these cards do the exact same thing. They all say tap, and target a player loses 1 life. The only difference is the Cackling Imp is a 2/2 with flying for 4, which can come in handy to survive Plague Spitter's abilities. Now on to the creatures that force my opponent to discard cards. Miracle Rat and Mystifying Mummy. They both enter the battlefield. Mystifying Mummy makes everyone discard a card, and the Rat makes every opponent discard a card. Now, on to the instants and sorceries that give temporary abilities, so to speak, and ways to get rid of opponent's hands. Duress. Target opponent reveals their hand. You choose a non-creature, non-land card. That can give away a lot of strategies to everyone else at the table if you do that to someone. Borrowed Mavericks. Target creature gets +1/+1, or target creature gets -1/-1. It can act as a mini removal or a buff up if necessary. Lash of Thorn. Target creature gets +2/+1 and Death Touch until end of turn. Dire of Dread. For 3 mana, all creatures you control gain fear, or you can cycle it for 2 and target creature gains fear. Touch of Moonglobe. Target creature gains +1/+0 and Death Touch. And if a creature dies this turn, if an opponent's creature dies this turn, that player loses 2 life. Unlikely Aid. Target creature gets +2/+0 and gains indestructible until end of turn. And Tainted Strike. Target creature gets +1/+0 and infect until end of turn. There is a reason why the infect thing is in here. Now on to creatures with at least 2 toughness that can survive the whole entire thing. So we have Dimir Houseguard with Transmute. And I can sacrifice a creature to regenerate him, but I mostly care about transmuting to search out for a lot of the 4-drops in this deck. Sky March Bloodletter enters the battlefield. Target opponent loses 1 life and you gain 1 life. Served Legion. It's a 2/2 with Fear. Queen Bay Soldier and Walking Corpse is the same card. It's a 2/2 for 2. Skurdag Supplanist. You can pay a black, tap it, and discard a card. Each player loses 2 life. Infectious Horror. When it attacks, each opponent loses 2 life. Daughtery Slayer. It's a 2/2 with Shadow that's forced to attack every turn. But 9 times out of 10, it's going to be a free 2 damage at someone. Venomous Changeling is a 1/3 with Death Touch. Gavinian Hollow is a 2/4 that whenever one of my creatures dies, it gets a 1/1 counter. Because yes, with Plague Spitter, some of my creatures will die. So I don't mind getting use out of them actually dying in this deck. Boneclad Necromancer enters the battlefield. I exile a creature to create a 2/2 zombie. So for 5 mana, I'm getting 5 power. Now on to some of... And Silent Skimmer is a 0/4 for 4. Whenever it attacks, defending player loses 2 life. Now on to some really big creatures in this deck. Feral Abomination is a 5/5 for 6 with Death Touch. Gurmag Angler has Delve Wolf, which allows you to pay exile creature cards from your graveyard rather than paying his generic mana. And Marsh Mist Titan. He costs X less to cast for X is your devotion to black. Oh, I am so sorry. There's an enchantment that I forgot to run to tell y'all about. They got mixed up. Kaya's Ghost Form. Enchant creature or planeswalker you control. Whenever the enchanted permanent dies, exile and return it to the battlefield. There's a lot of times I'll put that on Plague Stinger just so that when he dies from someone just trying to kill him, he'll come back. And it saves me a lot of the hassle of trying to get him back. Now on to the last 3 cards before I talk about the lands. These are global, black fireballs, you might as well say. Great Merchant of Asphodel, aka Gary. Each opponent loses life where X is your devotion to black, and you gain that much. Crypt Rats. You may pay X, and each player deals X damage to each creature and each player. You remember how I was saying about giving it Infect? This is how I use it to just kill everyone, including myself, if I know I can't win the game. And Consume Spirit for 2 and X. You can only spend it on black mana. It does X damage to a creature or player, and you gain X life. It is a black fireball. Now, there's 29 swamps in the deck and 4 non-basics. Forge of Heroes. It taps for 1 colorless mana, but you can tap it when you cast your commander to put a 1/1 counter on your commander. Bajuka Bog will deal with a Grave Hate Dex. Mortuary Mire will bring a creature back and put on top of your deck. And Haunted Fingraph will bring a creature back at random and put on top of your deck. That is Plague Spitter. I hope y'all like, share, and subscribe. Thank you. And everyone be safe out there.